Today on Forbes, someone should be in jail. Trump's cybersecurity officials stunned by signal leak. The stunning news that a journalist was accidentally included on a signal chat where Trump defense and intelligence officials, including Vice President J.D. Vance and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, discussed U.S. military strikes in Yemen, has shocked the cybersecurity community, including staff in Trump's own administration. One official at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, known as CISA, the Department of Homeland Security's digital safety arm, said that the leak was, quote, absolutely ridiculous on so many levels. The CISA official told Forbes, quote, they are discussing classified material on an unsanctioned platform, which should result in someone being in jail. Such discussions should only happen on a government phone in a sensitive compartmentalized information facility, known as a SCIF, which are designed to be secure from outside interference under a 2009 executive order. Mishandling classified information is a potential breach of the Espionage Act. The official continued, quote, individuals in this administration think they are playing James Bond, but they have the skills of a Dr. Evil. Another CISA staffer told Forbes that Signal is not an officially sanctioned app for coordinating government operations, though CISA has recommended it for at-risk officials for private communications. They said, quote, Signal is great, it's how it's used is where the problem lies. If Hegseth and crew were using Signal on their personal devices, which are unlikely to have the same level of security as government-monitored phones, it's more likely hackers could have broken in and are able to spy on their chats. The staffer said, quote, discussing classified intelligence over personal devices is terrible. Worse, Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg reported in a widely discussed story about how he'd been added to the sensitive chat, that messages in the chat were set to auto-delete after 4 weeks. That ostensibly violates government retention laws, which require that official records be maintained for either freedom of information requests or for future hearings or inquiries. How long depends on the kind of information. If it's deemed of, quote, permanent value, the information should be maintained indefinitely. On Monday, 14 senators, including Elizabeth Warren, Tim Kaine, and Cory Booker, wrote to President Trump to note that the fact that messages were set to disappear on the Signal chat was a violation of the Presidential Records Act, quote, a further egregious breach of public trust. One of the CISA staffers told Forbes that using Signal to avoid government retention laws would have been reason enough to remove those implicated from office entirely in previous administrations. Todd Beardsley, a CISA staffer until he departed in January, added that this appeared to be, quote, a pretty serious security breach. And that's all before you consider the fact that a journalist was somehow added to this Signal chat without anyone knowing who he was or why he was there. Beardsley added, quote, if anyone I knew with clearance discussed active top-secret intelligence in a Signal chat with uncleared individuals, everyone involved would likely and quickly lose their clearances and jobs. It's worth pointing out that Trump officials in the chat, like Hegseth, had previously called for Hillary Clinton to go to jail after her emails were leaked from a private server. According to Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg's account, he was invited to the chat by an account that looks to belong to National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. Other officials who appeared to have been on the Signal channel alongside Vance and Hegseth were Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Trump advisor Stephen Miller, Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. In the leaked chat, Hegseth talked up his own personal security skills, instructing the group to prevent a leak of information about any possible pause on strikes against Houthis, writing, quote, I will do all we can to enforce 100% operational security. But Goldberg was already in the chat. For full coverage, check out Thomas Brewster's piece on Forbes.com. This is Kieran Meadows from Forbes. Thanks for tuning in.